some quick headlines. The race for governor in Georgia could be called today. County scrambling to certify the election results after a federal judge ordered some absentee ballots be mistakes, and they should be counted, he says. It is unclear how many votes might be affected. Republican Brian Kemp is leading Democrat Stacey Abrams by nearly 55,000 votes there. And Beto O'Rourke blogging about a run that he took near the U.S. Capitol. Now many people are speculating it could be a hint about a White House run. In his post, O'Rourke quotes Abraham Lincoln, who is the only American to lose a Senate race and win the presidency 2 years later. Brian?
Lincoln ended up being a good president, as you know. Acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker assuring Senator Lindsey Graham he will not recuse himself from overseeing the Mueller probe, and many Democrats not happy.
Matthew Whitaker is an illegal appointment as Attorney General.
Whitaker was placed there to be a hatchet man to subvert or sabotage the Mueller investigation.
He serves the president's purpose of cutting by 1,000 cuts and dealing death to this investigation. It's a kind of slow-motion Saturday Night Massacre.
It's so unusual to see these Democrats critical of the president. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Here with reactions, constitutional law professor, George Washington School of Law, Jonathan Turley. Jonathan, Whitaker stays, right?
He does. You know, the argument that he was required to recuse himself under Department of Justice rules is really unfounded. You know, while some of his statements may have given us palpitations, the conflicts for people like Rosenstein is an absolute cardiac arrest, and these Democrats did not and have not raised those conflicts. So I think that the Democrats would be more credible if they were equally concerned about the conflicts of interest that some of us have pointed out with regard to Mueller and Rosenstein. But in terms of the DOJ rules, there is no mandatory recusal here. And also, this is not an unprecedented situation. People, before they enter government office, may be politicians or commentators, but that doesn't mean that they toss away their ethical obligations when they assume new positions.
Exactly. Jonathan, second topic, Jeff Flake says, I'm going to hold out, and I'm not going to give the president any judicial picks unless we get a vote on the floor, which is now backed by Chuck Grassley, to make sure to preserve that Robert Mueller not get fired, like almost protect him against the president getting rid of the special counsel. Do you believe that the president should do you believe that the president just wait him out and wait for the next Senate to come in, because it won't really matter?
Well, first of all, you know, I think it would be a terrible mistake for the administration to try to shut down the Mueller investigation. It seems to be winding down. He needs to finish his work. But what's strange about this bill is it doesn't do as much as people suggest. It basically codifies the standard of the Department of Justice and expedites a review in the court. But the standard is really quite squishy, you know, about whether he was fired with good cause. It's actually fairly easy to make that out under the standard of the DOJ. So I'm not too sure why Senator Flake is that insistent on this bill passing, because I don't think it gives much to Mueller.
You know why, Jonathan? It's emotional. They hate each other, and this is his last shot. I know you want to think intellectually, but I think it's more schoolyard. Robert Mueller gave questions to President Trump. One of the responses from Rudy Giuliani is this: there are some of these questions create more issues for us legally than others. He said some were unnecessary, some were possible traps, and we might consider them as irrelevant. What do you think? What do you think these questions contain? What is Rudy getting at, one legal mind to another?
Well, look, the job of a defense attorney is to try to narrow these questions as much as possible, and the prosecutors have a good faith reason not to do that. They want to try to get as much information as they can. There is still a live torpedo in the water, whether Mueller is going to push for answers on issues that cover both obstruction and collusion, and whether there might be a subpoena fight in the future. So we still have to see whether Mueller is going to push hard on that, because the White House has largely prevailed in saying we want a narrow subject matter, but apparently it's not narrow enough in terms of the questions that have been asked.
And there's also a story out there that the question's got to be answered and handed in today. So it was a take-home test, but at one point you got to give it back.
That's right.
Jonathan Turley will never allow a take-home test. You finish it in the classroom at Georgetown. Thanks so much, George Washington. Excuse me. All right.